All right, Lady Randall, good morning to you. All right, here we go. Priority principles. I want you to write this down. Number one, priorities never stay put. Priorities never stay put. Priorities continuously shift, and priorities actually demand attention. Let me get that to you again. I want you to write that down. Priorities continually shift, and priorities continually demand attention. I want to say to you that anything that is excellent or that is actually praiseworthy stands really moment by moment on the actual cutting edge and must continuously be fought for. Well-placed priorities, please write this down. Well-placed priorities always sit on the edge. They always sit on the edge. So in order to keep your priorities in place, you got to remember, I'm going to give you some points. Here's the first one. You got to evaluate. All right, evaluate. And if you evaluate, there are some R's that I want to give you. That is requirement, return, and reward. You all heard me teach you that before, but I think it bears repeating this morning. Requirement, return, and reward. You're going to have to evaluate. And you're going to have to look at your life, and you're going to have to bring some things into priority. And the first thing you need to do is really evaluate. So you have to say, what is the requirement that I'm going to have to deal with? What is the actual return? And hear me, sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it may actually be where the investment that you made. Hear me, and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about your true treasure within your heart. Okay. And the last one is reward. I was talking to my daughter. She'll tell you she's on here. I like to wait until my assignment is complete, or I like to wait until the project that I'm doing is complete to be able to see the reward of what it is that I worked for. A lot of times you have a lot of people who don't take time to process or evaluate. So what happens is they jump head first without actually taking the time to see exactly what it is that you should do to make some great progression in your life. So you got to know the priority. And number one, you got to evaluate. Here's the second part of it. After you evaluate, you need to start eliminating. All right? Eliminating. And eliminating, you must ask yourself, watch this here, what am I doing that can be done by somebody else? Did y'all hear me? What can be done, or what am I doing that can be done by somebody else? Some things you need to eliminate. Some things you need to put on another spear. Sometimes you may have to say, what can I properly delegate to someone else who has the spirit of excellence that can carry out the task and what I'm looking to get done? If you really want to see the measure of great leadership, see the measure of your great totality in your leadership, is to see how well you can delegate to people who know how to run with the ball and run to the end of the touchdown line. Are y'all listening to me? You must be very careful that after you evaluate, you begin to eliminate. So when you go through some things in your life, when you start seeing some things, when you start looking at the big picture here, you have to say to yourself, what can you actually eliminate? Now, I'm using delegation for the sake of argument, but some of us right now, we need to declutter some things in our lives. I am an avid HGTV person. I don't know how to fix anything, but just the fact of seeing someone else get something fixed up, it looks amazing. And to see the mind of intervention of how you can design something to make it beautiful is just mind-boggling to me. And one of my favorite shows on HGTV is the Property Brothers, but the Property Brothers, and they have one called Buying and Selling. And what happens is, if y'all have not seen the show, they take their old home and fix it up while the other brothers want to go find this new house for them. Well, hear me. The house that they're living in is under market value. I want y'all to catch this. The house that they're living in is under market value. And because it's under market value, they got to put some investment into the house to actually make the house back up to code for where it needs to be, right? Stay with me. Now, hear me. They think the house is worth $300,000, and the man saying, "No, y'all ain't gonna get no more than $230." So, hear me. I'm gonna put $30,000 worth of investment to make sure that you have enough money in it where we can sell it for the $300,000 that you're asking for. Now, I hope y'all catch what I just said. In order for you to be worth the value that you need, you're going to have to eliminate some stuff. Because hear me, when they start going in, before they start tearing down anything, they got to declutter the house, which means that they got to remove stuff. Are y'all with me? They got to remove stuff in order to get ready to get to the bare bones. Some things in your life you have to eliminate to get to the bare bones. And you will never know what is behind what it is that you need until you start making yourself declutter. So you gotta eliminate what in your life needs to be decluttered. Is it people? Is it relationship? Is it working relationships? Is it how the way you handle things? I'm telling you now, you have to start saying to yourself what can be done, and if someone else can actually do it. Some things in your life you may not be able to do it, but you're gonna have to figure it out. And here's the last one: estimate. All right. Sometimes what your top priorities are, hear me, you got to see how long will it take. And when you look at your life and you look at priorities, you got to take these 3 E's, just like I gave you the 3 R's. The 3 R's, in case you want to write them down, again, is requirement, return, and reward. In the E's that I gave you, it is evaluate, eliminate, and estimate. So hear me. So your priorities, they never stay put. They're always changing. They move day to day. They got to make sure that they're in the proper flow. You want to make sure that they are moving with the rhythm and flow of what your life entails of. And when you begin to operate and flow in God's divine will, you'll be able to say, I know I can't stay put. I got to keep progressing. One thing that God never wants you to do is to be stagnant. And I understand that God is the unmoved mover. But hear me, he gives us, hear me, even on his day off, he is to receive our praise. And on our day off, it is to give him glory. Y'all follow me? All right, so here's the second part I want to give you. After you move past that, you cannot overestimate the unimportance of everything. You cannot overestimate the unimportance of everything. Now, out of all that I'm going to say to you today, this is probably the most encouraging point to me for you all on today, because it is a little exaggerated, but it really needs to be said. The art of knowing what to overlook. Did y'all hear what I just said? Please write that down. You have to develop the art of knowing what to overlook. I'm telling you, this is what I began to start doing over the last couple of months, and God really began to really show me some things. The petty and the mundane steal much of our time. The petty and the mundane really steals much of our time. And too many are living for the wrong things. Too many are living for the wrong things. My doctor one time said to me when I was in his office, he said, Robbie, if you was to live your life all over again, what would you do differently? He said, what would you do differently if you could live your life all over again? Now, I understand that that is an open-ended question, and the multiplicity of answers came to me that I could have really actually said. But there are 3 answers that I would give you all, and I pray that you would hear what I would say. And I want to see what would your heart say if this makes sense to you. Okay, here it is. If I had to do it all over again, I would reflect more. Okay, I would reflect more. I would reflect on what went wrong. I would look at what I did wrong. Amen. What part I played in it. Amen. And did I make decisions too soon? Okay, now I'm just giving you mine. If anybody agree with that, I want you to talk back to me. There are some things. There are some things that you need to take time in and reflecting as you're in this new year. So many of us right now, we made New Year resolutions. And I come to tell you, when you make a New Year's resolution, you've already broke it the moment you spoke it. Amen. So you want to make sure that you reflect more on some things and go over life. One of the things I learned in life as a teacher, and I say this quote, and I say this to my kids all the time, that, and I say this to them, I said the answers to life is in the questions that you ask. I am a very stern taskmaster when it comes to education. I believe in education. I believe in that. I believe in studying, making some things happen and work where they should. And this is one of the things that I say to my kids all the time. Do what you have to do, so you can do what you want to do. Can y'all write that down, please? Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. So sometimes you got to sweat a season for you to be able to reap a harvest. Sometimes you got to plant in a season so you can reap a harvest. And some of y'all right now, you think that you have a harvest, but all you have is a bunch of dandelions. That's why your grass game got to be cut tight. That's why you got to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing and how to make sure things are done. You have to make sure sometimes you get that weed whacker. Sometimes you got to get that fertilizer. And sometimes you got to reflect. And that's when you know to get the proper tool to do exactly what it is that you need to do to make yourself work into the place that it needs to be. That's the first thing that I would do. I would reflect more. Here's the second thing that I would do. I would risk more. R-I-S-K. I would risk more. There's some things in your life right now that is worth taking a risk on. There's some things in your life that deserves taking a risk. And hear me, it may cost me, but I understand in anything in life it's going to cost you. It may cost you a little, may cost you a lot, but either way it's going to cost you. And I'm telling you, as you're listening to me, you have to risk more. Sometimes you have to risk some things for the sake of argument. You may have to risk, a friendship. You may have to risk a relationship. You may have to risk, some investments. You may have to risk taking a hit, taking a loss. Amen. You may have to risk, some embarrassment. And I want you to know that you have to do some things that God is calling for you to do, and you must make sure that if you're gonna do some stuff, that you're doing it to the max and you're making it work for your greater benefit. Here's the last thing that I would do in this part of overestimating of what I can do if I could do it all over again is I would do more things that would live on after I die. Are y'all listening to me? In this season of my life, it's one thing to want to leave people money, but you should want to leave people legacy. You should want to leave them something behind that can help them. All of my sons and daughters, I have a piece of history here from a clerical standpoint, a Levitical standpoint, whatever it is. I got enough stuff in here that I can give to every son and daughter that I have, that I actually cover, not on paper, but actually authentically, that I know are sons and daughters, that I can literally give them something, a piece of history. All of them ask for certain things. Amen. And in my will, I got to do some updating on it. That if I was to leave here tomorrow, I could leave something to every last one of my sons that can help them grow in ministry. I can leave something to my daughters that can help them grow in ministry. There has to be a piece of lineage. There has to be a piece of history. There has to be something that you ought to be willing to want to pass down. And watch this here. In spite of all the bad that I've done, that you have yet to hear, yet you have seen, or want to be told all. One thing is this. One thing about it, when your heart is pure, you'll make sure that you have something to leave behind. It was one time when I knew the power of God hit. And you got to be very careful that you don't have the wrong people in your ear gate to castigate what is authentically sound into your life. My dad said something to me not too long ago, and it stuck with me in our conversation. He said these words to me. He said, "The good is the enemy of the best." Did you hear what I just said? The good is the enemy of the best. And when he said that to me, I began to really ponder that thing. And when we begin to talk, I said, "Dad, most people can prioritize when they are faced with right or wrong issues." He said, "Absolutely." He said, "You certainly do." He said, Now the problem with that is that we fall too comfortable into not making sure that we understand what I gave y'all, the 3 R's. Because when I gave it to him, he actually taught on that in his Sunday school class at his church. So here's what I'm going to leave you all for today, and I pray that you'll receive it. I want to end here, how to break the tie between two good options. I want you to write that down. How to break the tie between two good options. Number one, you need to ask people their preference. And watch this here. Can one of the options be handled by somebody else? So could you pass it on and see a good result? Or would the option be a benefit more to the investor? Too many times we as merchants, we're so intent on trying to keep everything clean. But theoretically, until your hands get dirty, you really have not worked. And watch this here. You have to make a decision based on the purpose of where it is that you're going. Yes. Okay? Y'all with me so far? Too many priorities actually paralyze us. I lift my hands. Every last one of us, we can have